There's one other thing. I mean, the last time that the Giants were really cool, this guy who performed at Oracle Park yesterday was absolutely a part of the proceedings. And in all of the celebrations, there was another one over the weekend for 2012. Everything that so many different people have been on the field for this team through 10, 12, and 14, there are only two guys who were really big time front of the organization pieces for all three titles. And that's Buster Posey and Mad Bum. And so this guy's out on the field yesterday. He's 6-12 this year. And he had been
Where's the ERA? Low fours?
Pitching better. 4.37.
Okay.
Not great. Not disastrous, but it's not great. And so the letting him walk was absolutely the right decision. But you're never not going to love Mad Bum. He walks off the field after getting knocked around the yard, and he gets a standing ovation from the 20,694 announced at Oracle Park yesterday. He does not doff the cap because that's not Mad Bum. He's not going to be like, thank you so much. I gave up 5 spot. Yeah, hey, thank you. That's not him. And it's classically not him. And he was yelling at the umpire by the second inning because isn't he always?
Right.
And he's yelling at that young player with the Nationals to clean it up. And he was the old guy just a few weeks ago. And he's the go get it out of the ocean thing with Max Muncy. He's all of the things that here in San Francisco we sort of don't like. But he's Mad Bum.
Right.
So he's forever loved. But I wonder that. Have you ever stopped and thought about that? Like, if Bumgarner, in any way, shape, or form, did not have the resume he had, let's say even if he was a Giant, and he was just kind of like, whatever, he had some years, a couple good years, would you still love this guy?
No, absolutely not.
Would you love anything about him?
Not really. I mean, if it wasn't for 2014 in particular and what he did, the heroic return, his performance throughout that whole World Series, and yes, 10, 12, and 14, he and Buster, the only two keys for all three. If he hadn't won those chips, no, you wouldn't love him the way you love him. What if he, had like a Barry Zito career where, yeah, Zito also has a ring, but, he was high priced and he never fulfilled his promise. Barry Zito wouldn't get the same love that he gets if it wasn't for the one championship he was a part of. Madison Bumgarner would not be getting standing ovations if it wasn't for the titles. I
mean, I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush. There's plenty of room for everybody in the Bay Area, in California, all of that. But this is a guy who, it's rodeos, it's made up names. It's we're hunting. We got to chop up the snake there in the backyard. Vin Scully's going to talk about it. It's scream at other players for showing any sort of personality on the field. It's stare down the umpire. It's snot rocket on the field. It's all of this stuff that I look at him and I go, man, we love the experience he gave us. Overrides everything, obviously, but if you just remove that piece, isn't he? I mean, he's the antithesis of what we would normally gravitate to here as a fan base.
Yeah, exactly. He's a cowboy, and we don't necessarily do a lot of cowboy things here in the Bay Area. He's gruff, snot rockets, barking at opposing players, and all the rest of it. But we love him because, in part of what you're doing with your Bochy impersonation, he's Mad Bum and, he's a horse and all the rest of it. And he was a winner.
Good pitcher.
And I think about if,
lefty.
What pitcher, like before 2010, spent that much time as a Bay Area starter and then went on elsewhere and got the same reception when he came back. You can't find a guy.
I don't think. I mean, obviously, Marichal's kind of before the time, and yeah, anyone?
I was thinking about Kirk Reeder as a pitcher who, Woody pitched here for a long time.
He didn't even start here, yeah.
Right, but he's beloved in different ways, and, he obviously isn't as abrasive. And I think about Yasiel Puig. It's easy to hate Yasiel Puig because he was a Dodger, but if he was a Giant, oh, we would love all his antics.
Well, that's the nature of being a fan, is that you excuse away the stuff that would totally bother you if it was happening on another team. PEDs is example one. Exhibit A, if the PEDs are happening on your team, you find a way to rationalize it. If it's going on another team, you think the fan base are a bunch of morons. I watched this in following the Giants through the Barry Bonds experience. I mean, there was a year where we had to apply through MLB for a special credential that was just for Bonds. When he was doing that home run chase, I wonder if many fans knew this story. You could be a season credential. You could be a guy that goes to a team's games every night of the year. But when Bonds came to town, you had to apply for a special credential because there were so many people that were trying to follow Bonds around the country. So I remember getting this special credential, and you go to the Dodger game, and Bonds is in town, and the crowd is going crazy, losing their minds over Barry Bonds. And I can't tell you how many people I talk to who are like, I just don't get it. Like, yeah, he hits the home runs a lot, but I don't understand how the San Francisco fan base can love this guy. What is there about this guy to love? There's not one redeeming quality about this guy. And that's what they would say down in Southern California. And then a couple years later, Manny Ramirez gets popped with some pregnancy steroid, and they're out there making Mannywood signs in left field. It's like,
Right.
you hypocrites. You hypocrite, but we do it too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
all fans.
Tatis, this is gross. Bonds should be in the hall. Like, what? I mean, it's just that's the nature of fandom.
Yeah, exactly. Your guy is always going to be supported, and that, to your Madison Bumgarner discussion, I think is even more appropriate because of all the antics might be too strong, but the way he carries on, yelling at umps, snot rockets, get that out of the ocean, arguing with Puig, all the rest of it. Okay, fine. I mean, you tolerate him as a Giant because he won 3 World Series, and he's an absolute hero, and he's got the best World Series ERA in the history of the game, and he did it as a Giant, so he's mad bum, and he's a horse, and we love him, so that when he goes on to Arizona, you still love him. And I wonder if he would have gone to the Dodgers, for example, as a free agent. If he comes back as a Dodger, does he still get that same standing ovation?